Beloved Earth. I am so glad that you are actually considering being part of the team. We're pretty picky about who we invite to be part of our team here at Beloved Earth, so I'm really excited that you seem to be the one. So, welcome to the first video in our video training series of the processes, best standard practices of Beloved Earth. This is basically how we do, okay? So this first video is really just going to be an introduction to the actual equipment bag that you'll be provided with, as well as some of the other very basic tools that you get to use in people's homes and businesses. And since this is primarily the residential training video, we're going to go over a lot of the things that you end up needing in people's homes and very light office, like office areas of commercial cleaning. We're not going to go into the light industrial or really any of the specialty cleaning things that we do here with Beloved Earth. So today we're just going to talk about the residential basic introductory items that you'd use in a house and a little bit of how how we expect you to use them. Okay, so to give you a little bit of an idea, each team leader or each team is actually given one of these special bags. Really awesome, heavy duty, pocketed bag. There's lots of pockets along the outside, and we'll tell you what we find to be the most efficient use of those pockets, as well as a full interior that has lots of little lined pockets for all the different necessary things that you would need in a job. So the first thing that I would like to give you is some tips in terms of actually using the equipment bag. The number one tip is try to make sure that your bag is fully stocked before you even enter someone's home. We want to try to be really efficient, and that's not just to keep our company costs down, but in turn that allows us to be really competitive with the people in the marketplace because we're not charging people for inefficient use of our time. So one thing that we want to do is make sure that we have all of the things that we expect to need in a job as we leave our vehicle and enter the person's job site. Okay, so for a brief overview of the things that you're going to want to make sure are in your bag when you head into a job. We have a duster. And I'll go into more of these more in depth in future training videos. This is really just the basic overview of our equipment package. Okay, so we have a duster. We have an all-purpose cleaner. This is our parsley cleaner. So I can tell you more about this later, but you want to make sure you have your parsley bottle. You have a glass cleaner bottle, a bottle specifically for glass and mirrors. Then we have two specialty cleaners, and these have natural propellants in them. As I'm sure that you already know, Beloved Earth is very strictly a green cleaning company. We were the first green cleaning company in Western Massachusetts when we launched in 2005. So making sustainable choices is extremely important to us. All of the equipment and supplies that we use is what we consider to be the best blend of environmental sustainability as well as economy to make sure that we can keep our costs down. So it's always a marriage of those two whenever we can. So we have these two specialty products, and they do have natural propellants in them. They are not aerosols, so you'll get some special tips later when we start talking about these products. But one is for furniture polish, and the other is stainless steel polish. Okay, so those fit very nicely on the side. Then we have our concentrate of Basic H, which is one of kind of our flagship products that we love here at Beloved Earth. We've used it for nearly a decade. It's a degreaser, all-purpose cleaner, and in dilution it makes a great glass cleaner, mirror cleaner, and even vegetable wash. So we'll talk more about that in a future video as well. Then we have Pure Green 24, which is what we think is the absolute best disinfectant on the market with very strictly green standards. It uses silver ions and citric acid to actually kill better than chlorine bleach. It's used in a lot of medical establishments. It kills lots of viruses, bacteria, and continues to kill on any hard surface for 24 hours. And the great thing is you can literally spray it right on your face. It, even though it's incredibly powerful disinfectant, it's also incredibly environmentally friendly and non-toxic. So that's a great thing. And finally, our last bottle of cleaner is actually Bona for hardwood floors. This is a great hardwood floor cleaner. It can also be used on bamboo. We'll talk more about that in its own video, or in the product video rather. Let me get this back in the thing. So you can see that the outside of the bag remains very well organized. And the last thing that a lot of people like to carry in their bag, which we highly recommend, is a extension cord of some kind, because there are times when you're at a job where the average 20-foot cord of a vacuum just can't quite make it to where you need to get in that far corner without having to move your plug, and it can save a lot of steps if you do manage to carry a small extension cord with you. It can save you a lot of time sometimes. Okay, so then if we're moving to the inside of the bag, we have several color-coded microfiber cleaning cloths. All of these get cleaned and sanitized between every use, so please make sure that you have a lot with you. You're going to want to carry a certain stash of stuff with you in your vehicle, or the team leader will. You want to make sure that you always have access to lots of clean cloths. We do not like using cloths from one house to the next, so we take that pretty strongly. Always make sure that you bring plenty of clean cloths with you. Rule of thumb, bring more than what you think you need. In a home, you can always put them back or save them in the bucket for the next house, but you do always want to take all of your dirty things out. So as you see the cleaning cloths, there are several different uses for them. The white cleaning cloths are used exclusively for stainless steel polish and polishing stainless steel. So you'll have a training tutorial about how to actually use each of these products and how to best polish stainless steel, but just know that the white one is color-coded for stainless steel polish only. Okay, the green one is similar in that it is used only for furniture polish. So one of the main reasons that we keep them color-coded and separate is that we don't want to combine the products that use oil, which are the two polishes, furniture polish and stainless steel polish. We do not want to use those on wet cleaning in future times, because if you are actually using a cloth for furniture, or that has been used for furniture polish in the past, there can still be a lot of that oil impregnated into the cloth even after we clean and sanitize them, and they can leave other surfaces very streaky. So we try to keep those two oil-based products on their own color-coded cloths. The other two colors that we have, and I only have the blue to show you, because that's what most of them are, but blue or pink can actually be used for any all-purpose, what we call wet cleaning. So that's, wiping down a sink in the bathroom. We'll talk more about how we do that, but we don't ever use pink or blue for furniture or stainless steel polish. Okay, so we just want to try to keep them separated so that their colors are respected and predictable. Okay? So that they don't get ruined. And another thing that you want to keep inside your bag is a sponge. We use all natural cellulose sponges, so they are recyclable, they're naturally biodegradable, they are actually recycled in the first place when we get them, and they use natural walnut for scrubbing. So the great thing about these is occasionally you'll have something that needs a little bit of extra oomph or abrasiveness that a regular cleaning cloth actually has a harder time doing. The only thing that we do not ever use these on a toilet unless we throw them away. So, in future training will actually tell you a little bit more about what the appropriate time to use the sponge is, but sometimes they're just really handy, either soaking up a lot of moisture if there's been a spill, or if you wanted to give a good scrub in a sink, that's when we want to make sure we have a sponge handy. But we really don't use a lot of them. We use primarily the reusable cloths for most of our cleaning. In the bucket you'll also have pads for the extendable aluminum mop. In most residential settings, we do not use a mop and water bucket. They tend to be very hard on New England floors, especially with just the changes in humidity and temperatures. They really wear a floor a lot faster. So what we do is we use these reusable and sanitized mop pads that actually go on this telescoping aluminum mop. We call it the Bona mop. So what's great is that these pads just go right on here. And when you're cleaning any kind of hard floor like linoleum or tile, the Basic H glass cleaner is actually a great choice. It polishes just like a mirror. Also has a little bit of degreasing property, so that if you're cleaning a kitchen or something like that and there might be a little bit of grease on the floor, it actually can cut it very well. And then what we do is we switch pads when we switch to the Bona product for hardwood. So you would always want to have two of these reusable pads as long as the house had both types of floors inside. And that's something that you'll get a handle on, as you get more familiar with the maintenance jobs that you're doing. But good rule of thumb is to always bring 2 with you, because sometimes they even get too dirty, even if there's only one kind of floor. You sometimes want 2 pads if it gets too dirty and starts to streak. And also in your bag, you will also find a few really specialty items that we like to make sure you have, because sometimes they make all the difference. And then other times you just feel like you don't even need them. But we like to keep them on hand just so that you feel like you're prepared to do the best job you possibly can do, of course with the best equipment, because we don't want you having to, scrub and give tons of elbow grease if all you needed was a simple little special tool. So that's another thing we'd love for you to do, is if you come up with something that you think would help make your job easier, we are always open to that kind of feedback, so don't ever hesitate. We are very much a team here at Beloved Earth, so we count on you to be honest with your feedback and encouragement and support. So we'll do the same for you. You keep the communication open with us. Okay, so on that note, a couple of the specialty tools that we like to make sure you have in your cleaning equipment bucket. One of them is a package of razor blades, and please be very, very careful anytime you decide to use these. But a lot of times using a razor blade, like on the cooked on stuff, which you'll see in a future video, but the cooked on grime on an enamel top stove or even a glass cooktop stove, when used properly, a clean razor blade can actually make all the difference in the world. It can turn a 20-minute scrubbing job into a 2-minute scraping job. So we'll go into more training on those later, but we do make sure that you have them in your bag. Okay, so then we also have a scrub brush of some kind. Sometimes bristles are the only thing that can really get into a texture, especially in the bottom of, say, a shower or a tub. A lot of times with the cleaner, the best method is to actually use the scrub brush. Okay, and then another item that we often have in the buckets is called Tub and Tile. It's a specialty product similar to the Bona or the Parsley, and what it's really, really great for is actually dissolving soap scum and grime in a shower. So it will literally just melt it away. We use it pretty judiciously because it is still a strong product, even though it's environmentally friendly. We do try to, we want to make sure you have it because it can make very light work of an otherwise very difficult job. Okay, so then another thing that's in the bucket is gloves of some kind. Obviously we do not expect you to be cleaning people's homes and bathrooms and whatnot. If you would like to have gloves on, which we highly recommend, at least for bathrooms. I don't actually recommend using gloves throughout the entire job because it actually does diminish your dexterity. You can't feel things very well, especially when you're dusting. Of course, it's your prerogative how frequently you want to use the gloves, but I certainly recommend them when cleaning a bathroom or anything that you find to be distasteful or off-putting in terms of germs. So we prefer reusable gloves, but we will provide you with nitrile gloves if you have an allergy to latex or for whatever reason prefer the disposable gloves. We can provide them for you, but obviously from a sustainability perspective, we do indeed recommend having a really nice pair of reusable gloves. Okay, another goodie that we have is called the Bath Stone. This is a phenomenal product, kind of akin to the razor blades, but if you ever have to scour the inside of a oven or really remove some tough stains in an enamel sink, this product can make all the difference. So there will be a special tutorial about this particular product because there are definitely some limitations where you cannot use this bath stone for fear of damaging a surface. But certainly it's a lifesaver in the right circumstances. So bath stone. And what's really cool about this product is it is actually made from recycled recycled glass bottles. So it's really, really neat when we find these innovations that support sustainability and also efficiency. They make the job so much easier, and yet they are a truly sustainable alternative. And there's another thing that we like to make sure that you have in your buckets, which are the refills of items that you might run out of in a job. So one of those would be a replacement vacuum bag for your primary vacuums. We supply 2 different kinds of vacuums to most cleaning teams that work with us, and that is the Mighty Mite, which I will show you in a little bit. It's a very powerful, very lightweight canister vacuum, which is great for if you wanted to dust or use the attachments to do mini blinds or do the hard floors, the hard surface floors. It's great for that kind of thing. It's also a really great choice when you have really light duty, low pile office rugs, for instance. What you don't want to use it for is if there's really heavy traffic in a carpet, or if the household has pets, or a lot of traffic. You really want to switch to the upright sanitaire, which we'll also show you. But both vacuums are extremely powerful. The reason that we chose both of these vacuums, they're not like really fancy Miele vacuums. They're very affordable, and from a sustainability perspective, they also have all the little components are replaceable, which means that we can actually extend the life of the vacuum by replacing whatever broken or obsolete part there is, without having to actually replace the entire vacuum like you do with, say, a Sears brand Kenmore or something like that. After a certain piece of the vacuum becomes no longer usable, you have to actually scrap the entire vacuum, which from a sustainability perspective is definitely not ideal. Which is why we opted for the Sanitaire commercial line of vacuums. Not only are they very lightweight, they're very simple to use and simple to learn, simple to repair. So there's lots of reasons why we chose these vacuums, and there's really not much that they can't do. Of course, they don't have all of the fancy bells and whistles that some of the like the higher $700-800 vacuums have, but certainly they do the job and they do it well. And there's definitely reasons why we chose this line of vacuums. And the final thing that we include in our cleaning equipment bucket is our special leave behind cards. The great thing about these cards is it allows people, it reminds people that we were there. And it also gives them a little bit of a touch, letting them know how important we think they are. It also gives a chance for us to leave a little note, just to put, some personality behind the 2 hands or 4 hands, or however many hands just cleaned their home lovingly. It gives us a chance to write any little notes that we saw, like, "Hey Susan, we saw that there were a bunch of ants in the kitchen. Just figured we'd let you know. Have a great weekend." Or, we saw that it's your anniversary. Happy anniversary. Just a little touchstone to make us more personable, and it really increases the loyalty and also the communication with our clients. It makes them feel like we really care and they're not just a job or another number to us. The other great thing about these cards is that on the bottom it asks for a referral. And if they don't feel comfortable giving us a referral, then that means that there's somewhere that we could actually step it up on their behalf. So it gives them a chance, it actually puts the ask out there to let them know that we are interested in getting their feedback, if we could be doing a better job, and if they are very happy with the job that we're doing, we would love a referral. Here at Beloved Earth, we do work primarily by referral, so it is a big deal that our clients are happy enough to brag about us, because that's what brings new business in the door. It's what ensures all of our jobs, and it also allows us to be of service to even more people, and start cleaning the world one more house at a time. So that's another thing that we like to keep in the bucket. And just make sure that don't take a ton of these in your bucket, because if they get wet, then they're all ruined. But there is the pocket right inside where they can stay safe from most water, since most of the actual cleaning products are on the outside of the bucket, which you've seen in the beginning. They can stay nice and dry and nice and safe, nice and clean. But you make sure that you have them, because they're a great thing to leave behind if the person is not home when you're cleaning. Like I said, it just makes us a little bit more, it puts some actual humans behind the work that was done for the client, which does make a really big difference in how they view us and our service. Cleaning is an extremely intimate service that we're providing for people, so it's really nice to show them that how we treat them and what we provide for them is very important to us. So I hope that that's important to you too, and I hope that that makes sense. A very important tip to remember in using the Beloved Earth cleaning equipment bucket is to make sure that the bucket is clean, please. The first thing you do as you are unloading it in your car to go into a job is to make sure that you take all dirty cloths out, take any trash out, make sure that if the client was to look in the bucket, it would look as clean as what they want their house to look like when we leave. We want to make sure that we're leaving an extremely good impression about the kind of service that we are, with professionalism, cleanliness, attention to detail. It's these kinds of things that gives the client the confidence of not having to look behind everything that we've done and check up on us with white glove to see whether or not we've done our jobs well. We want to remove any of that hesitation, remove any of that trepidation from them, and give a really good impression and uphold the reputation that we have of being one of the premier cleaning companies in Hampden and Hampshire County. So please, it only takes a couple moments. Please just make sure that your cleaning bucket is clean and well represented when you head into a job. So another thing that we like to make sure that you have in your car is a couple of these leave behind toilet bowl brushes. Most clients, if we've served them before, should have one of these of their own. If they didn't provide it on their own, we actually leave one. We no longer carry toilet bowl brushes in our bags from house to house. Which, believe it or not, we did very early on, and we don't do anymore. Yay. So much for evolution. What we do is provide you with a bunch of these never-before-used toilet brushes that you can actually just leave at a job site. So if they do not have one, we would prefer to just have one in every bathroom so you do not need to carry it around. Everywhere there's a toilet, there should be a toilet bowl brush. So we make sure that you have a few in your car. If you ever do a one-time service, you can actually use it and leave it. If it's a new client and they did not have one provided, definitely you should have one in your car. It's nearly impossible, and at the very least not pleasant to clean the inside of a toilet bowl without a toilet bowl brush. So make sure that you have them in your car and leave them behind, but restock at our staff meetings. And make sure that you always have at least one or two in your car for when you need them. So now to give you just a quick introduction to the two vacuums that you usually have with you at a job site. Okay, the first is the Mighty Mite. This is the Eureka version of a sanitary vacuum. And like I told you earlier on in the video, the great thing about these vacuums is that every little component pretty much is replaceable. So that is great. If one little piece breaks, you do not need to throw the entire vacuum away. We can actually repair it usually very easily in-house. And if it's something more serious, they can be repaired at a local facility. So just to give you an introduction to this vacuum, it is extremely lightweight. I think it only weighs about 7 pounds. So that is great. They also have a carrying strap that you can use, and it hooks onto this part here of the vacuum as well as this part here, and then it becomes a shoulder strap if you ever wanted to just carry it on your shoulder rather than carry it in your hand or pull it along beside you. The vacuum has a nice long hose, and some of them have telescoping metal wands right here, and then some of them have these extremely lightweight segmented wands. So the end goes into one, and then it splits in the middle, and it also attaches into the head as well. So there's two separate extendable wands, or not extendable, but there's two separate segments of the wand on most of the residential units. And the great thing about this is that you can actually take this off if you wanted to get a cobweb or a bee or something like that that is up in the corner of the ceiling. You can actually just take the head off and suck it up. The vacuum itself is extremely versatile. So what's great about this vacuum head too is it is interchangeable. So all you have to do is switch this lever here to make the vacuum either good for hard floors or good for very lightweight carpets like I talked about earlier. This vacuum is really not suitable for very high traffic or animal area carpeting, or even really kind of thick, shaggy, or high pile rugs. It's really good for hard floors and very low pile office carpeting, like little area rug kind of things are sometimes okay, but pretty much never if there's animals in the house. Okay, so you'll know there's a little icon on the actual head of the vacuum. The little one that says bristles, that means it's good for the low pile carpets. If it has a flat line, then that means it's for hard floors. But you can also tell by when you hit it and actually look at the vacuum head, if the bristles are out, that means it's for hard floor because it's going to raise it up above a little bit. And then when it's on for carpet, there's just a little microfiber pad that will pick up any stray little hairs or little fuzz balls. But it will lay flat against the carpet and do a much better job sucking things up. Okay, so another handy thing about these little vacuums is that they actually have onboard attachments that can come in really, really handy. So right here in the handle, there's actually a crevice tool that fits right into the handle. What a crevice tool is great for is getting into the edges, like especially if there's carpeted stairs. Lots of us end up using just what we call the pokey, which is essentially a piece of the vacuum wand that doesn't have a head on it. We call this the pokey, affectionately, in Beloved Earth. So a lot of times you can get that, like if you're getting the, a pet hair tumbleweed or something like that, just on the edge of a hard floor. But many times in carpet, or like the edges of upholstery, they need what you use this for, which is the crevice tool. So it goes on any part of the wand at any point, so it can either go on the handle, this stage, whatever's most comfortable for the job that you're doing. It can get into kind of the tiny cracks of things. It's great if you want to kind of go above and beyond and suck the crumbs out of somebody's keyboard very carefully. It makes the suction more narrow, so it makes it actually a little bit stronger, the suction. So that's great, the crevice tool. So then try to always remember to keep the attachments on board the vacuum, because otherwise you tend to forget them at people's houses, or they get shoved in the bottom of the bucket with a product on top of them and they might get wet or damaged or just worn out prematurely. So try to keep them on board the vacuum. Okay, so then the other attachment that comes with these vacuums is this multi-tool right here. And it actually goes onto these, and see, it stays on pretty well. So it actually, there's two little prongs, and this little piece fits right in there like that. There's a fuzzy head side of this tool, so you can either stick the handle or the hose into this side for the fuzzy head tool, which is if there's texture on something, or it's great for like lampshades or upholstery, any kind of fabric, or anything that you just want to be able to kind of rub the dust or hair off is the bristle tool. And then anytime you just need to get into a very small area but you don't need the bristles, you can switch over to just the flat head side. So very versatile tools. Okay, so then you stick that right back on there like that. This vacuum, the way that you turn it on is if you are holding the vacuum right where your thumb goes on the colored part of the plastic, that is the on button. So you just hit it once, it goes on. So that's how you find it. It's right on top of the unit. You can, hit it very gently with your foot if you decide to be one of the people that actually leaves the unit on the floor. My only warning or suggestion is it actually, for the most part, will help the vacuum last a lot longer if you carry it in some way, because it also prevents you from pulling and loosening the hose and then having it routinely fall out on you, which is a pain in the butt. And it also can help prevent getting a kink in the hose, where the hose actually gets itself pinched and then doesn't have the suction that you really want it to have. So the best method is to actually carry the vacuum with one hand and vacuum with the other. But if for whatever reason you need both hands, which does happen sometimes, to pull furniture out or from the wall or something like that while you're vacuuming, you can absolutely leave it on the ground. Just be gentle with it. Okay. So to replace the bag of the vacuum, you just press down on this little piece right here, right next to the on button, and the front opens up. This bag comes out, and then you would have a new bag that's always folded. It looks like this when you replace the bag. And you essentially just dump this in there so that it's like square peg in a square hole kind of thing. It's very simple, and that's how you replace the vacuum. And then the great thing is when you're replacing a full bag, they have these really handy little devices here. So it says bag closure flap on the bag, and it's great. You actually just go like this. You tuck it inside the little rubber flange right there, and that way you can throw it in the trash and it's not going to create a cloud of dust if somebody throws something on it. It basically seals off the open end of the bag to keep things a lot cleaner. So I highly recommend actually getting in the habit of doing that when you replace your vacuum bags. And it's very thoughtful to the homeowner. Okay, so another thing to remember about this vacuum is that there is a little foam, a little spongy filter inside that actually catches anything that might escape the bag for whatever reason before it goes through the motor of the vacuum and can cause some damage. So we want to make sure that we always put a bag into the vacuum when we change it. It's a good rule of thumb to just kind of check it before you go into a home, just to see if it needs a replacement bag, because I mean they get really full and really stinky. So it's nice and considerate sometimes. If you're, especially the cleaner the home is that you're going into, the more you should check and make sure that your bag is clean and is not going to have an unpleasant odor, smell like somebody else's dog, for instance, the moment that you start the vacuum. So we want to make sure that the vacuum stays clean, it stays good looking. We don't expect you to use a vacuum that is not in good working order. So for whatever reason, if the vacuum feels like it needs some maintenance, please make sure that you turn it back into either me or your manager or something like that, just to make sure that you have a unit that's in good working order. We expect that of ourselves, to make sure that you have the equipment that you need to do the best job that you can. So, okay, so the cord system on this vacuum, and I'm actually going to just show you how to take this hose off just for a purpose of making this easier for me to demonstrate. This hose has two little push tabs on either side of it. It clicks into the main portion of the unit, and then you pull these two tabs, push the two tabs rather, and the whole hose comes off. What you might need to know that for is if you end up getting a clog in your hose. And I can show you some tips on how to unclog a vacuum in future trainings. But to plug the vacuum in and use the cord stores itself handily under the actual machine. And to take the cord off, the easiest thing to do is turn this wheeling unit, unclick it, turn it down, and then the whole cord falls off, which is really nice. That means you don't have to sit here and undo the whole cord to plug it in. So you plug it into the wall unit, and then when you are done, you have to be very careful to wrap the cord properly. One of the most common ways that these vacuums are damaged is by folks not wrapping the cord properly when they put the vacuum away. Okay, so on the bottom of these vacuums, you will see that there is a little plastic housing that directs the cord in a certain direction. It directs it toward the back of the machine. And if you think about it, that is the logical place for it to go, because you want it to trail behind you as you pull the vacuum forward, not to be coming forward. So it directs the cord to the rear of the vacuum toward this cord wrap hook. Okay, so when you go to wrap the vacuum, you just want to take this swivel wheel, make sure that it is locked in the upright position opposite the other hook, and you want to wrap downward first. Okay, so always wrap the direction that the cord is housed. You want to wrap down and around first. So what I'm saying is you do not want to yank the cord up and wrap around the top first, because it will actually end up cutting the plastic housing of the cord, and you can actually spark, and it's a fire hazard. So you want to just make sure that you're always wrapping downward, the direction that the hose is already being guided. Okay, so then you just wrap it all the way up. And try to keep it nice and tight, that way you'll get to a right spot of the cord to be able to lock it. Okay, so then you just lock it on itself, and the vacuum is now good to go, ready to load in the car. And finally, the other vacuum that you would have as a residential cleaning team or a light office cleaning team is the Sanitaire upright vacuum. I absolutely love this little vacuum. It's really powerful for its size. It's also very lightweight and versatile. It fits in pretty much any given car and has a couple of different really cool tricks to it. So on this vacuum, it looks really short, right? It looks almost like a dust buster, but obviously the vacuum is, make sure I don't hit my light fixture here, the vacuum is convertible. So basically you can use the vacuum like this, for instance on staircases. It's very easy. There's a little pedal right here that you push to release the head of the vacuum, and once that's down, you can actually vacuum stairs just like this, like a giant dust buster, rather than having to try to finagle a very long handle or a wand. Obviously, if you're doing the floor, you're going to want to use the handle. So there's a little push tab right here on the very base of the handle, and you push that, it releases the handle, which then folds up, clicks into place, and now you have an actual upright vacuum. So it's really great. I'm going to put this down just for the sake of, so actually before I do that, the cord of the vacuum works similar to the Mighty Mite. So it has this little cord release feature right here. So you just push it down and then the whole cord falls right off, so you don't need to unravel it loop by loop. Okay, so I'm going to put this back down so that I can more easily demonstrate here with my table. So that clicks into place, except I must be, I'm stuck on something. The cord has to actually be on the rack, and then it clicks right in. Okay, so then as you are going to vacuum, there's two settings on this vacuum. Here's the on-off button right here, so it's essentially if you were grabbing it, your thumb should be able to reach it. There's two settings. One says floors, which is the first one down, and then one says carpets, which is 2 clicks down. The only difference, it has the same amount of suction, but the floors means that it's not going to turn on the electric rotating brush roll inside the vacuum head. So it's great for if you decide to use the the hose attachments, or if you're just doing hard floors, this is a great versatile vacuum to have as a backup. If something happens to your other vacuum, you could actually do an entire job with just this vacuum and a broom. But what's great is this vacuum is really good at carpeting. So it's great at getting animal hair off carpeting, or anything that the Mighty Mite has a little bit of trouble doing, this vacuum is great for. So there's the two settings, floors, and that's also good for if you decide to remove the hose and use any of the attachments. So this vacuum also has onboard brush attachment, and then it also has these onboard poles. So if you wanted to use this either to do the edges of the carpet without switching over to the other vacuum, or if the thing that I always mention is if there is a bee or a wasp, but then you want to suck them up, or a big spider or something like that, and you want to use the hose, there's lots of different reasons that you might end up wanting to use the hose without switching vacuums. So it's very simple. You literally just pull it out of the bottom unit, and then there's an onboard pole here, and it's what we call a nested pole. So it means that there's actually two poles in one. You stick one side on here, and you can either use it just like this, or there's actually an extended crevice tool that is nested inside this pole on board the vacuum. So you flip it around, and now you have a nice long pole on the floor setting so that you don't have the brush roll going on the floor without need of it. And then you can actually use this crevice tool or as a pole for cleaning the edges of stairs, cleaning the edges of floors, sticking it behind a refrigerator or piece of furniture to get a dust ball. It's a great versatile attachment for this vacuum. So then we can put it right back on board, reattach the hose. Okay, and there is a little sensor on this vacuum. If you're ever, vacuuming and you catch a string or something like that, if the vacuum feels like it's straining too hard to move the brush roll, then it senses that it might be stuck on something, and rather than continuing to do damage to whatever fringe of the carpet you're stuck on or whatever thread is coming up from a carpet piece, it decides to just shut itself off. Another thing that can often do this is if you run the vacuum under the edge of a bed and say suck up the edge of a bed sheet or a sock or something like that, where the vacuum knows that it's not working optimally. It will actually kill the rotating brush roll. And when that happens, there's a little sensor light that goes on right here. It turns orange. And you'll also hear that it no longer is running the brush roll. So you'll hear it shut off, and then that light will be lit. So in order to reset the brush roll so that it will go back on, what you need to do is make sure that it's clear of obstruction. So if you did suck up a sock, or if it sucked the edge of a bed sheet up, obviously remove that. Make sure that the brush is clear of any obstructions or things that are about to be damaged. And then there is a reset button just above the warning light. So if the warning light is lit, clear the brush roll of any issues, and then press the reset button preferably when the vacuum is off, but I don't think it will actually do damage if you do it when the vacuum is on. But the first thing you want to do, if that shuts off, is immediately shut the vacuum off, because you don't want to continue doing any more damage or suction if there's an obstruction like that. So you just press the reset button, the light should go off, then the vacuum should work fine when you go to turn it back on again. So when you go to change the bag, what's great is that these bags actually have very high capacity bags. So this vacuum can do a lot of cleaning before it needs to be replaced. So in order to replace the bag, and one of the ways that you'll notice that the bag needs to be replaced is the vacuum will feel extremely heavy. Or if you feel like you have to go over an area a couple of times, it's most likely that your bag is getting full and you're starting to lose a little bit of suction. So it's another good practice to check the bag routinely before you get those kinds of symptoms, and just replace the bag when it gets up to the marked fill line. Okay, so to remove the bag, you're going to cup your fingers into this little, there's like a little handhold, and you pop the bag open, pop the vacuum open. To remove the bag, you press up on the little gray bag holding clip, and then you slide the bag out, okay? And then very similar to the Mighty Mite, this has a little feature that you can take this sticky part off and actually seal it right over the top of the bag to prevent making a mess. And then you would take a new bag, and there's actually a little channel that the cardboard rests on and then goes up at an angle. Press the cardboard up against the clip, move the clip so that it can fit around the notch in the cardboard. Make sure that it's tucked in nicely, and then replace the front cover of the vacuum. You want to make sure that you get a really good seal. Sometimes, as you saw, it's a little bit hard to pop open at first, but it's really important that it creates a really airtight seal, or else you lose all suction of the vacuum. So you always want to make sure that the pieces are seated properly whenever you're using a piece of equipment like this. Okay, so that is the Sanitaire upright vacuum. So another piece of equipment that you will have as a residential cleaning team with Beloved Earth is what we call the Bona mop. And the reason that we call it the Bona mop is because primarily we use Bona on hardwood floors. So we call this the Bona mop as opposed to a regular mop. What's great is that this is an extremely lightweight but durable aluminum pole, so it lasts a lot longer than the ones that you can actually buy in the store at like Home Depot or something. Actually, the ones that Bona sells are very, very flimsy compared to this one, which we special order. So it's called a trapezoid head because it actually is wider on one long end than it is on the other. What's great about that is it's great for angling and getting into kind of sharp corners. You can actually use your foot to press down on either of these pads against the floor. So you can use your foot to kind of give yourself a little bit of extra gusto to get something off of the floor. All the pads are just Velcro on the back, and then there's two long strips of Velcro. Obviously, there's only one way that this would fit properly. It's a trapezoid pad on a trapezoid mop head. So you just line that up. Press it down nicely. We use one pad for hard floor cleaning and the other for wood floor cleaning, because there's two different products, remember? And then the great feature about this pole is that it actually telescopes. So when you have it on the ground, if you twist it to the left a little bit, it releases the pole, and you can get a lot of length. Okay, I'm pretty sure it actually goes, I think, to 7 or 8 feet. And then when you want to lock the pole, you just twist back to the right and lock it at the height that feels comfortable for you. One other really cool trick about this pole is it can actually be interchangeably used as an extension pole for your duster as well. So in order to do that, what you want to do is remove the actual trapezoid mop head. So there's two little pinching gray plastic pieces that pull that allow the head to be removed from the pole. And then if you take your duster, your Lamb's Wool duster that we showed you earlier, it actually fits right into the end of this pole, which allows you to get up into cathedral ceilings or anything like that. Very cool, very versatile, and prevents you from having to carry a lot of extra equipment. That's one thing that we love, is the less equipment you need to carry in, the better, right? So that's a cool little tip. It's as simple as that. That completes the actual first basic introduction video to the Beloved Earth equipment that you will use for most residential and light office cleaning settings. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me or ask your manager. If you have any further questions or concerns or even recommendations, if you think that there's a better way of doing what we do, please don't hesitate to let us know. We are an open door always. Thanks so much for being part of the Beloved Earth team, and we can't wait to be of service as you help us be of service.